I mean, it was a pro gamer move, if we really want to get down to it.
Look,
Uh,
Christopher Tolkien selling the worst leavings of Tolkien's legacy to Amazon is equivalent to George Lucas selling his child to the white slavers.
Well, hold up. How about how Barbara Broccoli forced Jeff Bezos to give them another $1 billion?
That's just because she wants to bone Bezos.
Well, no. Basically, she got the extra $1 billion, and she's waiting until Bond goes public domain, and then she's going to make her own Bond movies again.
With
With
hookers and
blackjack. Ha, James.
So, welcome to the Gospel of Comics. We have a special guest, our co-host Ayrton. Uh, but I want to open up with talking about I read an interesting comic book today, and it's
Oh my God.
and it's called Barbarians Behind Bars. So I know, Ayrton, you haven't been on the show in a while, but we are randomly talking about comic books again.
I'm here like once a month.
But so Barbarians Behind Bars starts with a scene of two barbarian dudes who transport into Times Square, and they fight, and one dude murders the other dude, and then NYPD shows up and says, "Hey, listen, buddy, you're under arrest because you just cut that guy in half with a sword. It's kind of fucked up." And he goes to Rikers Island, and the comic book does something very interesting. He has a public defender who's trying to talk to him. And Joe, as a smart boy writer, what is the interesting thing that the writer of this comic book did in that sequence?
I mean, if it was me, I would point out that the barbarian doesn't speak English, and we have to figure out what he does speak.
That is exactly what the writer did. And that is a major component of determining if somebody can assist in their own defense, which is one of the foundational constitutional rights that they have in our American legal system. And so she goes about consulting with linguists, and they're like going, "Fuck if we know what he's speaking. It doesn't conform to any known system of grammar or syntax that we have studied anywhere."
What does he speak? Barbarian moon speak.
I mean, yeah, basically. And in addition to that, she witnesses the jail guards tase him. Not because he was being violent or disorderly, but because they could. And I'm like going, wow, this comic book I randomly picked up has set up interesting legal issues. I wonder if the future of this comic book series is going to pay those issues off. So that alone, that sequence alone, was enough for me to justify going to my local comic book shop and adding this to my pull list.
I mean, I'm interested not just because of the cultural differentiation. That is, he speaks a strange foreign barbarian language, and they've got to figure out what that is. But if they can't, they've got to figure out if he's even sane.
Well, I actually did some looking up on this. So what would happen typically in this is they would attempt to determine if they could come up with a medium of communication.
Right.
And if they would be unable to do that, then they would use different psychological steps to determine if he could, speak, if he understands things. Now, since we in the audience can see the English subtitles, he does in fact understand what's going on. He does in fact understand where he is, but state of New York doesn't know that.
Well, the thing is that there are a couple of famous examples, some of them very tragic, some of them almost apocrypha, of so-called wolf children, young people raised in isolation or through the extreme abuse, who do not develop cultural nuances and linguistic capacity with regular people, right? But one of the more interesting things that kind of gets lost in the shuffle is that they're not actually bereft of language. They're not like cave people that grunt and spit.
Right.
Right? They instead develop essentially communication mediums, either as if they are groups like twins that have their own internal language, or as they identify their own environment that they understand, but everyone else doesn't.
Yeah.
Right? And so, the reason I say they'd have to determine if he's even sane, is he even coherent, is in addition to can we communicate with him, they have to determine, even if he can communicate, is he actually aware of the context that, like, he did an act of violence and that's wrong? Because what do you do if it's like he did an act of violence, but he doesn't think or understand that it was violence and that it was incorrect? He might think everything he did was perfectly justified. How do you hold him accountable then?
Now, in the rest of the comic, he was with his cellmate. His cellmate had special privileges and made him a grilled cheese sandwich, which he ate while he was looking outside.
That had to go over pretty well, actually.
Yeah.
Barbarian man has first grilled cheese sandwich. What the fuck is this? It's amazing.
And he goes into the prison cafeteria, and the local Aryan Brotherhood tries to recruit him, and he does not respond to them. They don't like that. But he doesn't respond negatively or positively, and he's just kind of there until a magical artifact from the evil barbarian he murdered reactivates itself. And then he slips out of his jail cell and sneaks to the evidence lockup where it is. Not entirely sure how that works because this is Rikers Island, but you know what? I'm going to give this comic book writer a pass on that one. Because the ending scene is a cliffhanger of him about to punch some guards and stuff to get to the magical doohickey that's evil.
I'm gonna throw up since that was so sweet. I'm gonna throw something into the cycle that is sour and annoying, because it dovetails nicely with this subject. So on this end, we have a comic you have found. I'm assuming it's indie.
It's indie. It's
Yeah.
Mad Cat Comics.
Small indie comic nobody's heard of that we're trying to signal, trying to send up flare-ups. People will check it out. Opposite end of the spectrum, talking about legalism, we have this from the Hollywood Reporter.
Doot.
Silence of the Lambs teams reckons with transphobia criticism.
Yes.
There's regret.
Let me pull this up because actually I saw that Star Wars girl commenting on it, and
I responded to that Star Wars girl commenting on it.
Oh man, I've been muted this whole time. Anyways,
yeah.
So, shut up. Now, could it be we're not afraid of trans people? They're just faggots. Like,
no,
could that be
no.
a possibility?
That's not even where the whole conversation is. Because did you watch Silence of the Lambs, Aaron?
No, what kind of question is that? Have I watched a movie?
It's a movie from 35 years ago, Ayrton.
I'm only 34. I'm not 35 yet.
Larry, he's not going to watch Silence of the Lambs. That requires, reading a book.
I mean, I'm not asking him to read the book Silence of the Lambs.
Oh God, no, not the book Silence of the Lambs, just a book.
I'm more likely to read the book than I am to watch the movie, to be honest.
Either way, we could certainly read this article if you want, but I want to cut to the quick, and I want to get to the meat so we don't have to sit on this over long. Okay. 35 years ago, a film called Silence of the Lambs came out based on a book that I think was, between 5 and 10 years older?
Yes.
Yeah. By Richard Harris?
Yes.
Yeah. Richard Harris was formerly in law enforcement, or was very knowledgeable, had access to it, kind of popularized profiling from an academic environment to a mainstream media environment. One of the early defining authors of police procedurals focusing on a psychological component. right? Trying to get us out of the sort of 1950s, 1960s hippy dippy, nifty style into the more hard science. And one of the plot threads for the Silence of the Lamb is that the villain, a serial killer that is colloquially called Buffalo Bill, which is a rude euphemism, is
Yes.
murdering women to skin them to make a woman's suit so that he can
Based.
transform into a woman. The thing is that in order to catch him, the FBI, that is more or less helpless, turns to the assistance of a character now famous because of Anthony
Anthony,
Hopkins,
Anthony
Hannibal
Hopkins
Lecter.
legend Anthony Hopkins
Yeah.
legendary performance.
Hannibal Lecter is a former criminal psychologist and profiler turned serial killer himself.
Oh no. He only became a
And
profiler in the show.
well, yeah, but
He
he's
was
also a
in it.
pathologist, isn't he?
No.
In case you
He
are wondering, a quick aside, in case you all are wondering what it's like to live with a female and a puppy, it's hard to tell the difference between the puppy wanting attention and the female seeing a cute picture on Instagram because they make the exact same sound.
That's
Anyways,
adorable.
continue.
But no.
Um,
He was not a pathologist, but he studied pathology because of his desire to eat people.
Right. There's a hinterland because the study of criminology is kind of like the study of Egyptology. It's not a real science, but it wants you to believe it is.
Mhm.
Anyway, um, the thing is that they avail themselves of him, and he uses his expert opinion to propose to our primary character, a strong, independent woman who doesn't need no bullshit, despite she gets a lot of it, by name of Clarice Starling.
Who's
That
also a legendary performance of Jodie Foster.
legendary performance by Jodie Foster, to propose that the villain is not a transsexual, but thinks he is because of his deep psychological flaws, and so is trying to make a woman's suit because he has gone to all of the major medical facilities that can provide the surgery. They run you through a battery of psychological tests to figure out, is this something you really need or are you a weirdo? And he's failed all those tests.
Let me actually read a good line
Go
from
ahead.
the Hollywood Reporter article. For his part, Saxon, whose next movie with Dem was the Oscar-winning Philadelphia, about a gay lawyer diagnosed with HIV, acknowledges that Silence's filmmaking team had not anticipated that their work would cause pain for LGBTQ LMNOP plus viewers. We were really loyal to the book. He says, as we made the film, there's no question in our minds that Buffalo Bill was a completely aberrant personality. This is 100% true. This is what
Right.
you see in the film.
Right.
That he wasn't gay or trans. He was sick to the extent that he missed it. From my point of view, that we weren't sensitive enough to a legacy of a lot of stereotypes and their ability to harm. Except in the movie, it says he's not trans.
Yeah, that's the
Explicitly.
thing. That's the thing. In the film and in the book, they go into extreme detail. There's a character that's in the book that's not even in the movie that actually tries to take Investigator Starling to task for even suggesting otherwise, right? This character is not gay. That this character is not trans. That he is not a lifestyle. But he is a very sick person with a very sick motivation, right? And this is very important because in reality, this is the most unbased things you're ever going to hear me say, Ayrton. So pay attention. Trans people are not sick. They're not dangerous. They are not. They are not here to get at your children.
What if they have the flu?
I mean, then they're sick, obviously.
Yeah, then they're
Okay.
sick, but they're not sick
Okay.
innately. They don't. They're not carrying the plague that's going to make you trans by being in close proximity.
Unless you drink the water.
Damn it.
He had to go. He had to go for the Alex Jones reference.
The thing is that I personally have lived with two transsexuals, and they were both ends of the spectrum. We had one who is still a very close personal friend and was a wonderful person who's off living their life, and every so often I'll call them up and say, "Hey, can you help me out? You have a pickup truck," right? And the other one was a complete fucking pain in my ass who eventually ran back to Michigan to live with her parents and supposedly moved to Canada to try and escape this country. And it didn't work out from what I've heard.
I
And
mean,
they can get fucked.
Depending on where in Michigan, you're basically in Canada anyway, so there's no
Yeah.
significant difference.
yeah, but she's probably going to where they offer maid.
Right. However it goes, the important part is that the trans people are just people like everybody else. There's a range of personalities. But that brings us to this article, to these actors, and today, because the guy that played said villain, Buffalo Bill, has come out to say that he was really kind of sorry for what he did, and he didn't mean to hurt anybody, because LGBTQ plus ZY activist performative fuckknuckles have decided that now, after 35 years, we must bring to task this film, The Silence of the Lambs, for misrepresenting queer people. And it's like, they didn't do that. You know they didn't do that. That never fucking happened. You're a bunch of liars. And then fucking Hollywood people caved. They didn't have to say anything, but they fucking caved and said, we're real sorry. We didn't mean to do any harm.
Also,
Harm to who?
Also, let's not forget that the villain in the second Silence of the Lambs film,
which is the first book, by the way.
No, I'm not talking about the. I'm not talking about Red Dragon. I'm talking about the second Silence of the Lambs film.
Yeah,
I'm talking about Hannibal.
Yeah,
the villain in that one was also gay.
Right. Let's also mention, because it's worth mentioning, that the movie Hannibal shouldn't exist and the book Hannibal shouldn't exist, and the only reason they did is because when the Hollywood insisted we're making another one, Richard Harris said, if you're going to make this piece of shit that you shouldn't make, I'm going to write it because I'm not going to let you fuck up my characters, which they proceeded to do anyway.
Yeah, but also Harris's explanation of the backstory of Hannibal Lecter was really fucking weird.
Right, yeah. But I think we can say there's a fair amount of filmic insistence, because Hollywood is obsessed with the idea of the serial killer hero as a Batman.
Yeah, but the fact that his desire to eat people came from the fact that he had a weird misplaced sexual desire towards his sister, and the Nazis ate her during one of the sieges during World War II.
They weren't even Nazis.
I thought they were Nazis from the book, but it's been a while since I've read the book.
Their family was on the Eastern Front between Germany and Russia.
So they were Polish?
And during the height of the conflict, they were captured by deserters who I believe are actually Russian deserters, not Germans.
They were deserters. You're right. It's been a while since I read the book.
But it's only pertinent because all of this is designed to lead to the idea that Hannibal Lecter's eating people out of a need for revenge, when it's like, no, you're eating people because you want to, you sick fuck, right?
Which was the point that they brought up about him in Manhunter.
Right. Which is, by the way, upriver from Darkly Dreaming Dexter, which in book, it very much like Fight Club hinges on the unreliability of the narrator, but in the TV show Dexter, they go out of their way to make Dexter into a heroic psychopath, because he's killing the killers, and that's good because he's the good guy, because he's the main character and therefore correct.
Though
he's fucking not. He's a psycho.
One of my favorite bits of YouTube is somebody has a YouTube series called Columbo Versus, and you saw, and they had Columbo versus Dexter, and that wasn't even a fair fight for Dexter.
Just one more thing.
But since we talked a little bit about serial killers, let's talk about Dracula.
Oh, sure.
I thought we were going to talk about Star Trek and Alex Kurtzman.
No. That's a serial rapist, and we'll get to that.
Yeah, we're saving that. But Luc Besson is on his director purgatory run, and he made a Dracula movie that was very heavily inspired by the Francis Ford Coppola Dracula. And did you get to see it, Rune?
I did not.
Oh, I was very interested to hear how you would have what you thought about those little gargoyle things. But the gist of the movie is because it's financed by the French instead of being in London, it's now in France. But it's essentially the same story. There's a redheaded woman who's afflicted with a strange malady. It's called being a vampire, and she's like almost 200 years old. And this French Catholic hospital calls in a priest who does some basic investigations, and it's like going, oh, yeah, no, this is a vampire. And one of the points of investigation is she ignites a cross on fire. So it's like, yeah, no, she's a vampire. And he starts to interrogate her to find out what's going on. And she's, of course, Lucy from the Dracula books. And it's interesting because Lucy is a loose and libidinous woman in the Dracula book and in the movie by Ford Coppola, especially. But in this thing, she's a more tame libidinous woman, which is actually more Victorian period appropriate. She was she kept that stuff hidden.
Well, something that I think has been lost in the sauce, not by you, not by these filmmakers, but in general, is people have a misunderstanding about what the Victorian period was. The Victorian period was 100 years long.
Mhm.
Because Victoria was queen for 100 years.
Well, not quite 100 years, but she lived a long ass time.
Yeah. Early Victoriana is more like Pride and Prejudice, which is closer to the predecessors, closer to the 18th century than the 19th century in appearance and personality, right?
But the late Victorian era.
Well, that's what I'm saying. In Hollywood, they always use the late Victorian period, which is appropriate for Dracula, right? But in the late Victorian period, we are also moving towards the early part of the 20th century. And you go, well, yeah, Joe, that's how time works. But what happens in the early 20th century? Flappers,
Mhm.
women's lib,
Yep.
and Amelia Earhart, right? So Lucy is a loose and libidinous woman by uptight Victorian standards of the time for older Victorians, but is basically a young woman on the cusp of a future of nascent youth culture. She's not really loose and libidinous. She's just, opinionated and free-minded. How dare she?
But I mean, Joe, the line from the Ford Coppola movie is so great. But Quincy, can I hold it? It's ever so
Right.
big.
No, she knew that she was being outrageous and she knew that she was offending someone, but she could also get away with it. And who's her fiance, an American.
Well, no, her fiance was actually the English doctor, but yes.
But his best friend was an American.
Yeah.
And what is Quincy but a fucking cowboy in England?
What this movie does another thing this movie does that I really like is it has really cool dragon themed armor for Dracula and all of his knights. It's really cool. There's a really cool fight scene where they set a whole bunch of Romania on fire and fight the Turks in fire. I thought that was neat. And the fire wasn't all digital effects. Some of it was actual fire.
Actual fire.
So I'm like going, well, I'm impressed. You actually were willing to do some special effects work for this versus saying, just make a digital fire, it's cheaper. I'm looking, okay, that's nice. And Dracula, before he went off to fight the Turks, said to the Catholic priest, listen, I need you to talk to God. I need you to explain to God my wife isn't allowed to die in this battle. Because if she dies, I'm going to be really fucked up about it. And the Catholic priest is like, son, that's a little extreme on the heresy side that you're going there. And then he desecrates the church, stabs the priest, and he becomes the Dracula. They have a much more low-key Jesus bleeding on the cross sequence. But all of this kind of builds into Christoph Waltz's character, who reads a book studying on vampires in the church library, and he comes to the idea that the best way to defeat the curse of Dracula is to save Dracula's soul. Is to get him to seek redemption from Jesus. And I am shocked that we had never done that with a vampire movie or series before. No one had ever tried that.
Well, except for the BBC, because
Well,
in their BBC Dracula series, they tried to make Dracula gay panic, and ending Dracula was coming to the terms with the fact that Dracula was gay.
Yeah, but that doesn't really count.
That-
That's
yeah.
not saving. That's not saving Dracula's soul. That's not a movie about a Catholic priest saying, "Hey, listen, you need to accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior, and He can lift this curse off of you."
Also, let's give it's again not quite the same, but I wanted to give honorable mention to Salem's Lot,
Mhm.
in which the Renfield, the vampire, and the priest have a confrontation, which literally hinges on, can you hold off my vampire lord long enough to survive till dawn?
Dracula's dressed up kind of in a inspired by the original old man Dracula costume from the Ford Coppola movie, and as he's
well,
draining Jonathan, he tells him, "Listen, when you're immortal, you eventually get bored with everything, and you eventually lose all will to live, but you can't die." And that was really an interesting take on Dracula.
I mean, I still personally think the best expression of vampirism is Willem Dafoe as Graf Orlok in Shadow of the Vampire.
Mhm.
But no, what I liked in what I have seen of it is later when he's young Dracula again, when he's in France.
Mhm.
His appearance is actually less like a Dracula and more vaguely similar to the Top Hat and Kane combination for Lon Chaney's Mr. Hyde.
You know, that's a good insight. If that was intentional, and I think Luc Besson might have made that intentional, that was a good choice. And of course, he convinces Mina that she's actually his dead wife. They go back to Romania. He's on the cusp of turning her into a vampire. The boys get there with pieces of the Romanian army, and they storm the castle. The priest tells Dracula, hey, accept Jesus, because you're not just damning yourself, you're also damning her. And because he actually loves her, he's willing to seek forgiveness from God.
A couple of people have done commentaries where they have said that they don't like this romanticization of Dracula because it's not in the book, which is true. But as you were describing it, it occurred to me that you could do a really good Dracula story if instead of a romantic figure, you parsed him as a creepy stalker.
Oh, yeah. Because that's the thing. The way he goes about convincing Mina she's his beloved,
Right.
That could totally be like a whole gaslighting thing.
Right. You parse this idea that Dracula has gone through the centuries gaslighting woman after woman, that she is the one true resurrection of his
Gaslighting
dead
isn't real.
wife.
They're all just crazy.
No, gaslighting is clearly real. It's just that vampires got to get dealt with.
It's true. It's true.
My wife just darted in from the kitchen and gave me a thumbs up after I said that. Which, by the way, I totally zoned out and didn't pay attention to almost anything you guys said. I've been researching the history of grilled cheese just to see the historicity of giving a barbarian in a medieval fantasy a grilled cheese sandwich in a tavern.
No. He's not. He's not in a medieval tavern. He's in Rikers Island.
Oh. Well, anyways,
well, no, it's still good because it's the question of whether or not a barbarian would know what a grilled cheese sandwich is if you gave him one today.
So the earliest recordings of something resembling a grilled cheese goes back to actually the ancient Roman times, where they would put bread and like cheese on bread and kind of like bake it. But it was more desserty, so more similar to a cheesecake. It, let's see, 1725, we have the phrase toasted cheese appears in print, but what we think of as grilled cheese, it actually comes from 1861 from an English cookbook, Mrs. Beeton's Book of Household Management, and includes a recipe for assembling brown bread and butter with thick slices of cheese, then placing it in an oven until the bread toasts and the cheese melts. So there you go, grilled cheese.
You know, this is the quintessential Gospel of Comics conversation. So here's Larry and I. We're going deep dive on cinematography and film history and writing. And Ayrton's like, I've spent the last 20 minutes researching grilled cheese sandwiches. It's like,
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, that is on brand for Ayrton.
No, that is on brand for us because we are absolutely the kind of people that have these range of conversations. And it's funny because today I got my groceries. You know, I get my groceries about twice a month, and they were on sale. So out of nowhere, I went, you know what? I am going to get cheese bagels. So I, in fact, had for breakfast/lunch sourdough. They tasted like sourdough. Cheese bagels, which is again hot bread and cheese. I am clearly a barbarian.
Indeed. You know who has a new comic book out?
Mm.
Larry Hanma.
Oh,
Let me pull up the explanation of this comic that's coming from Boom Studios.
okay.
And I mean, Boom does some good stuff
Yeah.
some of the time. So let me get the screen share up. Read the announcement page about the comic. Legendary writer Larry Hanma and the late M.D. Doc Bright's final work presented for the first time at Boom Studios in the center that holds a superhero series that questions the very nature of what it means to be a hero in a giant-sized first issue. A new superhero universe is born, a world where superheroes become commonplace. Heroes are required to join a union or else face financial liability for damage caused during their battles.
I mean, already this is Ayrton's least favorite reality.
Enter the Superheroes Union, a team up of Skyper, Psychic, Lakshmi, the Mysterious Keeper, and the child prodigy Necrotron, among others. If they battle villains and bureaucracy alike, I mean, they're a union, so they are bureaucracy. And the delicate balance of mitigated damage while saving lives is already tough enough. They've got their own worries with a constant stream of villains and, standard comic book stuff. And you take a look here. You got something that looks like a G.I. Joe tank attacking a limousine. That's good stuff. And you got the superhero. I mean, a lot of this art really does feel G.I. Joe inspired.
Da, 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 da.
Also, there's a supervillain that has an elephant head and an American flag underneath his suit. So, I mean, that's a really subtle allegory. I'm not entirely sure what that's all about.
Well, what country does Republic Trantor stand for?
I mean, he stands for America, and this is a cyberpunk city, so it obviously doesn't stand for America.
Right.
So, have you experienced a comic book, Rune?
I mean, didn't we talk about?
Have you experienced a comic book? Sounds like you're asking.
Experienced.
It sounds like you're asking him about his recent run up with a Catholic priest, considering his avatar at the moment.
That is my new character for a game Larry and I are in.
Mhm,
That's
mhm.
it's the good pasta landas, and it's actually extra funny. If you ever want to hear Joe put on the brothers and sisters Southern preacher man, I recorded it.
Nice.
But did last week did we talk about splatter comics?
I don't think so.
Well, no, I may have mentioned it in passing because I found the book Elf Warrior,
Oh
and
yes,
we read um
yes.
the editorial about the comics industry dying then, and how ominously prophetic it seems to right now. When here's the thing, that was 1988, 89. Is that when the bubble hit, or was that when the bubble burst
That was
for
when
comics?
the bubble started getting shaky.
Yeah, I
So
would
are
say
we
it didn't burst till like the mid 2000s.
so
Oh
are we
no.
in fact about to watch another comics bubble explosion where
Well,
comics
Yeah,
eternally implode?
in the indie scene, 100%.
Yeah.
the problem is comics have to inflate before they can be a bubble.
Ah. So
Well,
basically
it's an
comics have been in
artificial
a
bubble. It's like Fannie Mac, or Fannie Mae, but for comics right now with the indie
so
scene.
so comics have just sort of been in a recession, but they're also being artificially kept alive. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, I
For
would say
Kinda,
that.
3 decades.
kind of, sorta.
Don't mind me as I open my Doritos. Uh,
But
do you have Mountain Dew too? You
no,
want to just
but
complete the stereotype?
I do not have Mountain Dew. But if these are too spicy, I do have fucking ginger ale on the other end of the room to go get.
well, that's
Um,
good.
What brand?
I took what I could get, so I've got Seagram's and I've got Canada Dry.
Okay, Seagram's all right. Canada Dry, that's proper.
Look. When you're buying what you can get, and you've got a buy two get two, you take what you can get.
Yeah.
but yeah, no. What led me to find Splatter, or what led me to find Elf Warrior, and we talked about it a little bit last week, was I rediscovered the expanded material by Tim Vigil and North Star Comics. So I read Splatter, which ran for, I want to say, 14 issues, or maybe it was 8. I know that's a huge range, but limited run, short run of book. I tried to read some Faust, Love of the Dead, the protogenitor to Spawn, and man, that book is insane. It is so surreal and so batshit. All I can think of, having thumbed through it, is like there's a reason The Crow was very popular, and that's because The Crow actually knew how to tell a story. Because if you actually go back and read James O'Barr's oeuvre, it's got a lot of superhero era artifacts that don't really serve it. The Crow is not a good superhero book. It is, however, a great and gothy comic.
Do you want to know the first time I heard about The Crow?
I mean, do tell.
Very on brand for me. So I'm in a Salvation Army, flipping through the VHS tapes because, of course, I was, and I stumbled across a little video that would forever change my view and taste in movies, and that was Attack of the Killer Tomatoes director's cut. Now, for anyone who is not in their 30s or older, VHSs used to have, along with the FBI warning, trailers before the movie actually played. And one of the trailers was for the Crow movie before
Nice.
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
Nice. That's good stuff.
I had a hilarious time recently. I was watching stuff with Ty. Ty and I get together. We watch old TV. We watch movies, and they will show me stuff on the internet that they think is interesting. And we watched a video about forgotten cartoons, right? Just a thought experiment. Do you remember this cartoon? Do you remember this? One of them they brought up was Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, the cartoon, which came out as a response to the success of the sequel to Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, right? And they tried to explain that the reason the cartoon failed was that it failed to live up to Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. And that somehow Attack of the Killer Tomatoes was a serious horror film. And it's like, no! Attack of the Killer Tomatoes was never serious. It was never edgy. It was batshit retarded from the beginning, and everyone involved fucking knew it.
So the first movie, you both have seen it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you know the part where the helicopter crashes in the field, and they're like, "Oh my god, did you see that? The tomato flew right at us."
Mm-hmm.
Well, what happened was the pilot fucked up and tipped the rotor too far and legitimately crashed the helicopter, which took up over half of their budget. It was just supposed to land in that field and the guys were supposed to get out. So they were like, fuck, what do we do? And so they had to write in that they got attacked by a flying tomato and that caused the helicopter crash.
I'm just saying that trying to say that anyone took Attack of the Killer Tomatoes seriously is like trying to infer that Evil Dead is still a horror series when very clearly it has become a comedy horror series.
Hey, listen, George Clooney was in the second one. That's all I'm saying.
In Attack of the Killer Tomatoes 2 or in Evil Dead 2?
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes 2. He's in the, he's one of the main characters in the second movie.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, George Clooney was also in Batman 4, so what do you want?
George Clooney was actually in a even shittier movie, and it was his and Charlie Sheen's first movie.
Which movie?
It's like some indie zombie kind of movie. And they're both like just young actors in it together.
Oh, I feel like I heard
Charlie Sheen talked about it in his documentary.
I was going to say, I think he talked about it when he was on Rogan.
Yeah,
a few weeks ago too.
He was on Rogan promoting the documentary in the book. The documentary about himself is really good. I recommend that, and I reviewed it for this show.
The Rogan episode was actually pretty good.
Yeah, but we can't put off talking about Star Trek Academy.
But we can.
No, we totally can.
Because I got some material. I got a thing. Because you guys have reminded me. We're gonna send this link. We're gonna go to Bloody Disgusting. Talking about more horror movies. So as you guys may know, you guys were just talking about people who show up in low budget horror movies that become somebody that you wouldn't think were in low budget horror movies. Billy Zane,
who used to be somebody.
First movie I saw him in was Critters. Right? Then I didn't see him for years. The movie I saw him in that made me like him as an actor, he's the bad guy in Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight. Right? And then he was in The Phantom as the Phantom.
And that movie didn't have its stuff together.
That movie wasn't so bad though. Like it's not great, but it's not bad. Like everybody was doing their part.
Yeah, I mean, people thought Dick Tracy was going to work out. They thought The Shadow was going to work out.
Yeah, it's sad, but it's true.
Margo.
So I know that Billy Zane was in Titanic, but for some reason his star didn't really catch. And the next thing I saw him in was he was in the Blood Rain movie, but by that director, the German hack job artist,
Uwe Boll.
Yeah, Uwe Boll's Blood Rain, which is one of the worst vampire movies I've ever seen.
It was so bad. I think it was Blood Rain 3 or for the video game, they gave it to you for free.
Wow. I mean, some people want to
Hell
watch that starlet that's playing Blood Rain get fucked in the ass. Okay,
I mean,
One of the
I'm just
video
saying
games,
I'm just saying there's a full-on sex scene in that movie with
like
a
I said,
very attractive woman.
we were talking about sexuality earlier. Don't know what I am, but all I know is, I'm afraid to talk to women and like to masturbate.
But anyway, the reason I bring it up is that here there's a new Western coming out. I'm sure it's going to be garbage. It's called Blood Rush, right? And Billy Zane is in it out of nowhere.
He could be a vampire railroad guy.
I believe the idea is that it's a group of old world vampires coming out to the Old West to make their fortune in blood drinking and murder.
I mean,
I really like that concept, actually.
Well, yeah, but instead of being like, let's actually use it intelligently, I think it's just going to be, let's talk about rich evil Europeans, rich old white men coming to take our money and opportunity.
Well, no, so living out essentially in the Old West now for the last year, like you could do a lot of cool stuff with vampires out here, like climate wise.
Here's something funny about that. Jamie Foxx. I mean, it was Southern California, but Southern California and Arizona are very similar.
Yes,
he did a thing where he was a vampire hunter who his day job was he did pool repairs. And that gave him time to, be snooping around a vampire's property to stake them and harvest their teeth.
Yeah, I don't know, picturing vampires like in cowboy regalia stalking through the desert at night. I could see them working as like bounty hunters, like going after Billy the Kid during his height. Like that would be cool. That would be an interesting story. And then like wrap Billy the Kid into like he's actually some occultist and he has some like silver bullets with crucifixes and sigils carved into them.
Oh well, I mean we've talked about Vampire the Requiem before. Vampire the Requiem has one of the best Wild West vampire stories I've ever read.
So this also reminds me of another game. Have either of you guys played the cell phone game Choice of Games? It's a whole bunch of different online choose your own adventure style games.
No.
So they have a vampire game, and in the vampire game, in the first chapter, you're a young vampire. It's after the Battle of New Orleans, and you decide to test your moxie against Andrew Jackson. Huge mistake. Your sire pulls you out and says, "You should not have done that. If you ever have the opportunity, don't be anywhere he is."
Is Andrew Jackson a vampire? No, he's just a crazy fucker.
I mean, once I played that game, I had the immediate thought, because shortly after that, we had Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, and I thought, what if we do a sequel to that instead of an Andrew Jackson werewolf?
Not werewolf hunter, just werewolf.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like if any U.S. president were to be a werewolf, it would be Teddy Roosevelt.
Teddy Roosevelt absolutely would hunt monsters. Great White Hunter, the hat, the whole thing. I was like, come out of your hovel. I wish to shoot you.
But are you not familiar of one of the more famous stories about Andrew Jackson?
Oh, you mean the one where he pulled the guy out onto the floor of the house and beat him?
Oh, I'd love that.
Well, I mean, hold up. There's several
we used to be a proper country.
No,
we did.
I'm talking about how there was an assassin who decided if he murdered Andrew Jackson, he would become the rightful king of England somehow.
Based.
The man's gun did not fire, and Andrew Jackson proceeded to brutally beat him near to death with his cane. Andrew Jackson's bodyguards had to pull him off of this guy because they did want to arrest him for trying to kill a president.
By the way, can we just point out people talk about decorum in politics currently and how we're losing that? But back in the day, Andrew Jackson literally just beat a congressman's ass and called him a retard because he was being fucking stupid.
That's nothing. There's also the infamous giant cheese wheel.
that the founding fathers, after they kicked the ass out of England, got fucking wasted in a pub.
Oh no. Related to Andrew Jackson, in his first inauguration, there were so many people drinking, he had trouble getting back into the White House.
Again,
It-
we used to be a proper country.
We did.
but yeah, so there's all sorts of interesting things I think you could do with something like that. But I do want us to talk about this Star Trek Academy because it's also
Well,
because
hold on. Before we do that, I've been away for a while. I posted a link to a video over in the Twitter group chat.
which one?
The real ass niggas.
No, I mean which video?
Oh,
How long ago did you post it?
Oh, I just sent it.
Adventures in Wi-Fi. Oh, Adventures with Dad. Okay.
I mean, I might have posted it before.
Is that your doggo?
That is my doggo.
Okay, this is going to be adorable. I endorse this. Let's check this out. A little bit of something sweet before we go into the depths of Star Trek Academy.
So, as
hold up.
Larry's pulling it up. I bought a Russian off-road sidecar motorcycle, and
so hold up. What motorcycle did they steal to make the equivalent of this motorcycle? Who did they steal the design template from?
So they didn't steal it. I'm pretty sure, looking at the historical evidence, that they were given or they bought the plans from BMW. It's based off of the R71, which was Germany's premier motorcycle during World War II.
He's super excited. He's checking it out.
Yeah.
Oh, she loves it. It's so cute.
This is an American man living in America as Americans were meant to be.
With a German dog and a Russian motorcycle.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
I like the music.
Dog is like, here we go. I'm not anthropomorphizing. That is a huge smile.
Oh, she loves it. So, we bought this about a month ago. And I had a whole training regimen planned out, right? Like, okay, we're going to do like all this stuff. No, the first day we brought it home, she hopped right in and like we rode around the parking lot. And so like where the dumpster is at our apartment complex, I'm parked, like we have to walk past the bike. I took her with me to take the trash out the other day, and she dragged me to the motorcycle and hopped up, trying to get into the sidecar. I was like, no.
Let's go. Let's go. We're going to go places.
It is 10 o'clock at night. We are not going for a ride. It's so yeah. That's
Well, that was nice.
That was
that's what
lovely.
I've been up to. We also started an Instagram for her. It's ADV with Ava. ADV is short for adventure riding in the motorcycle world. If anyone's listening and wants to
Actually, I
watch
just
cute
heard
dog
something.
videos.
I just heard something interesting. I want you to tell me about the acuity of this, or if there's some element that's not being talked about. Have you heard about the I want to say it's several thousand, possibly as high as 80,000 units of Harley Davidsons that are going unsold because people just aren't buying them anymore?
Yeah, no, that's 100% a thing.
Well, because a lot of people are trying to crow and say, "Ah, yes, another '90s fad is dying, and this is good." It's like, what's wrong with a Harley? What's the problem
So,
with liking Harleys?
are these like new Harleys that are?
yes, yeah, Harley sales are plummeting. So okay, so Harley was really good from 1903 to like 1960, right?
Mhm, mhm.
They start going under. AMF, the company who makes bowling pins, right, bought Harley Davidson in 60 something, and their motorcycles were shit. Just complete dog shit. The most unreliable things you could possibly buy. Until 89, I think. A bunch of Harley workers were like, you know what? We hate these guys. We're going to pool our money together and we're going to buy the company back and make it not shit. And it's taken them from let's say 1990 for the sake of argument until I don't know 2018 to start making like good reliable motorcycles again. But the problem is Harley also banked for most of that AMF, and through the 90s era they were banking off of the lifestyle branding, right? So like Harley Davidson underwear, Harley Davidson cologne, like all this shit. And,
Which has been revealed to be a consistently bad idea across multiple venues.
correct. And so like people like me, even though I come from a motorcycling family, I've never owned a Harley. I've ridden a couple, but the only Harley I would own would be something like from like the 40s or previous, right? And it's because they aren't able to get young new riders in. They have no beginner level bikes. All of their bikes are huge, super heavy, high CCs.
Whereas your race burner motorcycle companies, they all have entry level bikes.
Exactly. And that's the biggest thing. Most Harley riders for the past 30 years have gotten into it because their dad rode Harleys or their grandpa rode Harleys, and they're like, I want to be like my dad or my grandpa or whatever. And that's just not a thing. And it's their sales have been slowly declining over time. That and like the riding clubs, which are just like middle-aged dentists wanting to LARP as outlaws.
Well, see, my thing is that I can't ride a motorcycle. I have once, and it was not for me. One of the
But you could maybe do a trike.
I mean, maybe.
Or a sidecar.
But oh no, I can absolutely use a sidecar. Yeah. But one of the things about my disability is any sufficiently high G's goes right to my loins. It's very uncomfortable. I do not know how to describe that feeling. But it doesn't mean I don't like motorcycles. I don't think they're the epitome of cool. They're awesome, right? I like what they represent thematically. But my thing was never Harley. My thing is I always liked Indian.
Yes, and so that's the other thing. So Indian went bankrupt
What?
and fell off. Also, the same time AMF bought Harley in that same era. A company bought them in the 90s and
Yeah,
tried to
the
try,
new Indian is not great.
well no,
Well, I mean,
I'm getting to that
Okay.
actually.
Okay.
yeah, but
So
the old Indian also was known for being a little bit of a maintenance hog.
no, the Indians from like when they were purchased, I want to say it was like 98 until like 07. They were owned by I forget who. Those suck. But then Polaris bought them in 2010,
Yeah,
and they're fucking great. They're
and
phenomenal bikes. They have
and
entry level bikes. They have bikes for almost every single sector of the market.
an Indian was always a cooler brand.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I liked Indian was in the first, they were more rare if you're looking for the old ones,
Yes.
right? Like there's only, I want to say 200 of the first run of Indians in circulation.
I mean, there's probably about the same as for Harley in the
Yeah.
first run of circulation.
But also, I seem to recall, I could be wrong, my motorcycle history could be off. Wasn't it Indian who got the contract to make motorcycles during World War I and II?
No, actually.
Okay, who was that?
So it depends on what you're talking about. So Harley made, I don't know about World War One, but World War II, Harley supplied the motorcycles for like basic infantry. It would be the WLA.
Yeah.
So you have the WL, which is the standard model. WLA is WL Army is what the A stands for. But Indian, they actually bought the rights from a British manufacturer to make something called the Indian Papoose, which was this compact motorcycle that like folded up for paratroopers. And it would be in a little box, and they would push them out of the plane, and the paratroopers would jump out, and then they'd unfold the bike and, you know, ride and do their stuff. No, what Indian's biggest thing was at the time was police departments, NYPD specifically in the 30s and 40s, because Indians were left-hand throttle versus right-hand throttle, which is what all motorcycles are today.
Which meant you could right-hand gun and or flashlight.
Exactly. So that's where Indian kind of shown. But the other thing is Indian didn't accelerate in motorcycle, like in like engineering technology, as fast as Harley did. Harley adopted a lot of like what we think of as like if you just like close your eyes and picture a motorcycle, in your head, what you're picturing is when you like you know break it all down to the basic bones is a 1936 Harley Davidson knucklehead. That was the first of what's considered modern motorcycles.
The thing is, it's just like how most people don't fully understand what comics were or what pulps were, because you have to sell the people this idea that comics were disposable media, right? Now you buy a comic, people are like, "Oh, you're gonna save that and like put your kid through college?" It's like, no, this is just a comic book. What the fuck? Most motorcycles, when people talk about motorcycle history, their brains only go about as far as like 1945, because they're imagining soldiers coming back from World War II, buying a motorcycle and being kind of an early proto outlaw biker, which was a thing that did happen.
That's 100% where the outlaw like chopper scene comes from. Same thing in England with cafe racers, Japan with the Bozozuko.
But at the same time, motorcycles are older. And most people don't know how old motorcycles are, because in their brains they think like cars are a 1920s invention. It's like, no, the earliest motor vehicles are Victorian. It's like, well, yeah, but those are like funny cars that spit and don't run. It's like, yeah, but motorcycles were
The
going.
the Daimler Benz motor wagon or
Right.
motor carriage, 1889, I think.
So I'm gonna pull out a deep cut for those of us who want to talk about forgotten and beloved media that you Mandela affected. Larry is gonna know this one. He's gonna put a twinkle in his eye. There's a show called Legend. Did you ever see it?
Yes.
I knew you had seen Larry, but have you seen it, Ayrton? Ayrton's dead.
Uh-oh.
Anyway, there's a for those of us who do not know Legend, the guy who played MacGyver, who later goes on to be Commander McNeil in Stargate, whose name I can't recall, but I know it, plays a Wild West adventurer who hooks up with John Delancey as a scientist to use super science to catch bad guys. One of the episodes involves I want to say a gang of robbers who are using the earliest generation of motorcycles in the Wild West to commit daring robberies and escape before anyone can catch them because a horse can't keep up with a motorcycle. Which is not actually true. Like a horse in a flat run can go the distance, but it is an animal. It does get tired. The motorcycle will keep going. And it's just like a great little bit of TV knowledge that I have that existed, that somebody remembered that motorcycles are contemporary of cowboys at the latest part of the Wild West.
Yeah.
Kind of like that meme that's made the rounds about how Abraham Lincoln could have telegrammed a samurai in Japan who could have formed an adventuring party with Sherlock Holmes and an elderly John Lafitte. You know? Perhaps this was Ayrton escaping because he knew that we were about to start talking about Star Trek.
I mean, it's fair. It's fair. So yes, we're going down the Star Trek Discovery hole, and
episode 7 is out, but I haven't seen it yet. But apparently, people have are already horrified. It involves a dress.
7's only out to people who have special access. It's not out to normal people. So episode 6 is they went out to have a super secret mission on a derelict spaceship. But
it's not super secret. Let's call it. It's a field trip. They went out to have a field trip.
But they opened the episode with a sex scene, which is certainly a bold place Star Trek has never gone before. But it's a really shitty sex scene because it's filmed by an intimacy coordinator. So you have a woman doing like a weird push-up posture over a guy. Their faces aren't anywhere near each other. It's just really weird.
All right. So I'm gonna disagree with you there, but I am going to agree with you in the sense that it's an intimacy guide. It's very new TV, and that's what's wrong with it. If we go back to DS9, or we go to even, I want to say, some TNG episodes, they did infer sex.
Oh no, this wasn't inferring.
I know, but bear with me here for a minute. They inferred sex in a television appropriate fashion because we had evolved from the 1960s and 70s. So now we had people in either reduced clothing or the man could be topless but not the woman, with well placed blankets chastely wrapped around their bodies to hide their nudity. Because quite frankly, sorry everybody, I don't know why they kept having to try to show off Patrick Stewart's disgusting old man chest.
Look, some people liked it.
I am not one of them. But to be fair, I was never that into Scott Bakula as a sex symbol either. Apparently, he made soccer moms hot, and they kept trying to make him be bare-chested. And it's like, come on, don't do that, guys.
But so there was also some side boob we got to see on the show.
that's the thing, is that this isn't just modern actual TV sex. We're going to see some sex, and it wasn't just by an intimacy specialist who's going to tell us how to show it, but this gonna sound so weird. I'm gonna show my age. When you were a teenager and you could only see titties on TV at very limited amounts of time in the day because you didn't own the Playboy channel, right? There was a sliding scale of pornography. So
I mean, Joe, do you remember when PG-13 movies allowed you to see titties?
just a little bit, yeah. But at the high end of no dick, no balls, but naked ass and tits, you had Skinamax. Cinemax was all about the sleaziest porn. Why would I end up watching this? Because they put the horror movies in between or before the porn movies, so you watch what you watch.
And look, it was like midnight, one in the morning when it happened
Right,
in your
on a
time zone.
yeah, exactly. Middle of the night, nowhere. HBO didn't so much have porn, but they did have an adult entertainment block. So they like have documentaries talking about sexual subcultures and sex lifestyle, which could be informative, but were not necessarily entertaining.
I think it caught an Emmanuel movie on HBO, either that or Showtime.
Right. And Emmanuel could be quite classy, all things considered. Right?
Except for the one movie where she had sex with a swan. That was fucking weird.
Fucking weird. But that brings us to the dumpster of adult entertainment. Showtime movies. Red Shoe Diaries. Showtime didn't like to have sex, but they knew sex was where money was. Okay? So they always had movies where it's like, all right, we're going to show two people, they're going to disrobe, we're going to see titty. And then they're going to embrace through the gauze of this flowing sheet that is draping down from above. And there's going to be sparkles and slow music, and it's like I don't know what the fuck they think sex is, that apparently it's some kind of delicate undulating dance.
Well, I mean, hold up.
No penis ever encountered any vagoo.
Well, hold up. In the new Star Trek, they talked about sex involving an elegant dance.
Right. That was, but that's the thing, is it's like I have to refer to this. I have to remind people this exists, and it's awful. It's the most unsexy thing I've ever seen. It damaged me. People are like, Joe, why do you watch porn? Porn is bad for you. It's like, because I've seen what not porn looks like, and it's worse. It's like the sex scenes in Ellen DeGeneres' gay movie.
Ugh.
You know, her anthology about gays throughout history that ends with her and Anne Heche having dramatic fake sex on screen.
Look, I mean, I don't know Ellen DeGeneres, but Ellen DeGeneres seems like the type of woman who experiences lesbian bed death on the regular.
I don't know what that is, and I don't want to know.
Hold up, you don't know what lesbian bed death is?
No, I do not.
So somewhere between 30 and 50% of lesbian couples don't have sex.
Okay.
They just one day just stop having any interest in having sex with each other.
Ayrton's back, by the way, but I don't know if Ayrton wants to be back for this.
Well, no, we were talking about lesbian bed death, which is one of the funny things about you learn about the lesbians on the internet.
So you're saying the second we mention lesbian bed death, he gets brought back, and if you don't bring him back, he's going to spell a slur in the private chat. You should probably grab him.
Give me a second. I mean, lesbian bed death is right up there with lesbian spousal abuse as a major thing that the internet tells you about lesbians.
Yeah, so my internet exploded, so I'm on my phone.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I didn't know Explorer was still available.
I mean, he's on the potato. He's on a potato.
But so they have a weird sex scene with main character boy and discount Deanna Troi, who's also discount Rachel Summers.
Rachel Summers or Jean Grey?
Well, look, Rachel Summers was the daughter of Jean Grey. She's not good enough to be discount Jean Grey. We have to know our limitations. And
They wanted to do the Phoenix. We got the Albatross. Got it.
Well, no. Rachel was also the Phoenix, but she didn't have any really iconic or cool story.
Yeah.
She was a phoenix without the cool factor, the powers.
Well, no. She had all the powers, and she was also originally from a timeline where certain mutants were set up to hunt other mutants, and she helped set up the rebellion. Yada yada yada.
Can we do that with the Mexicans?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Uh,
So
No, what we need is we need a media setting that is Mexican Pokemon, which is not to say that it's not to say that it's Mexican with Pokemon, but that it is a setting in which
Got it.
Mexicans are made to fight each other in the ring for badges commanded by
gotta
children.
catch 'em all, Mexican.
But so main character boy in Beta Z girl go inside her safe space in her head, which he then uses to go inside his head.
Which, if I understand it correctly, is a knockoff from someone else's depiction of psychological presence in a
Yes.
film. I missed that specific reference, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. And then he was upset that she accidentally went into his mind with telepathy.
Right. How dare you touch my brain meat with your brain meat when I'm touching your brain meat?
And
Did she make him gay? That's the biggest
No.
question. When
No,
it
he
comes
started
to...
that way.
Oh,
No. In this setting of Starfleet Academy, everyone is pansexual.
God damn it!
and
We're talking about Star Trek.
Yes.
You were gone, so we started talking about the thing
Yes.
you didn't want to be here for.
Yes. So in the Starfleet Academy, everybody is a pansexual, and they are all into polycules. And this is in the dialogue from the characters. This isn't even me making it up. I wish I was.
I'm so glad I have my coffee.
So they have a mission. They have to go to a morbid spaceship and reactivate its singularity drive.
Larry, I already work at a liquor store. I don't need alcohol poisoning.
Well, I mean, how else will you tell people what paint thinner tastes like? And
God
that's
damn
actually,
it, we're closed. I can't even text a coworker to like bring me some Everclear to get through the rest of this conversation.
Look, if we talk about this long enough, you'll just smell toast, and then you won't be worried about anything else.
I'll smell some grilled cheese, actually.
and also the bad guy gets some alcohol that he comments on its flavor tasting like cat piss.
Well, let's address a couple of things real quick. So they have their lewd little scene to create emotional distance and conflict, and then the actual setup of the show is the characters are going on a field trip to a broken spaceship to do a repair job, not to actually repair it, but to test. So can you repair it? And the ship in question is positioned like the Event Horizon, stuck in the fluvial of a region of space. The hallway through which you approach down it looks like the entry tunnel to the engine room in the Event Horizon. It's basically the Event Horizon, but we named the ship the Miyazaki, and we swear that's not an anime reference for the anime chuds.
Yo, can I just masturbate with sandpaper?
No?
I'll get way more enjoyment out of that.
I mean, anything you want to do, we can't stop you. I don't know if your girlfriend's going to be into that. Your wife might have a problem.
No. So our characters get onto the ship, and they're confronted by the discount Reavers. It's the great value brand Reaver.
Great value Reavers.
And
Kroger brand Reaver.
And these aliens are hybrids because all the aliens are hybrids, which means none of the aliens make any sense. And they
couldn't just say they're mutated.
I mean, that makes sense. And also, if they're mutated, then you're being critical of them for a deformity, and that's really, bad.
Oh, right. Yeah, I'm a toxic male. I have negative opinions about Israel.
Yeah. Well, actually, being a toxic male means you have positive things about Israel.
Oh,
So,
okay.
my wife said she will edge me with sandpaper, which that'll be much more enjoyable than this new Star Trek.
Well, we haven't even gotten into the fun of the thing because this episode is actually
Fun.
the
He says
best.
fun.
I mean,
This
Ayrton,
episode,
Ayrton, a kid dies.
yeah, and the kid who
I mean,
dies,
okay, what color is the kid that dies though? That's
I mean, he's a green-blooded Vulcan,
that's close. We're getting there.
and he's also a comic book nerd who's a Vulcan.
Okay, he deserves it.
And the comic books become a plot point in the show.
And so, see, now Ayrton's into it because he wants to see a kid die. So let's.
I mean, now I'm getting hard. So it'll be perfect for that. It'll be perfect for that sandpaper masturbation.
So what Ayrton doesn't know is that there's two conflicting schools that shouldn't conflict: Starfleet Academy and the War College, and they're doing a joint exercise. And the Vulcan, establishes some interesting dialogue with our main character, who's using programmable matter to fix the ship. And the Vulcan's like, "Can he do that?" And the instructor from the War College is like, "There's no rule that says he can't. He did his homework." And I'm like, wow, wouldn't that have been interesting if you had developed this sort of idea in other episodes?
Real quick, is there a space Epstein analog?
Maybe.
Or is there someone like Dick Cheney who isn't in the Epstein files? He just blew up brown kids for the love of the game.
All right. So here's the thing. Not yet. Give it time. I'm sure they'll find a way to have one.
But they tell the captain, who is a degenerate hippie, that she needs to make a deal with a pirate played by Paul Giamatti, who is enjoying himself playing a giant piece of ham.
Yes, Paul Giamatti said, when asked, how much ham did you play? He said, can I be all the ham?
Hold on. Are you saying he's playing a giant piece of ham colloquially, like he's hamming up the set, or is he actually playing a giant piece of ham? Because I have no idea which way this could go with this new Star Trek.
If he was playing an actual piece of ham, that would actually be funny.
Well, hold up. Technically, he's playing the aliens. He's playing an alien hybrid that's partly from the race that is the pig aliens from Star Trek.
Okay, so kind of.
So he's at least 50% ham.
I'm 63%, let's say.
And the Federation gives him booze to try to make him happy, and he orders all the most disgusting booze that the replicators can make for some reason. And then Holly Hunter's like, "Well, fuck you. I don't want to do anything with you."
Please tell me there's a Malort reference.
I mean, he referenced something that tastes like cat pee.
So yes.
Well, no. It's not that he references something that tastes like cat pee. He actually describes a couple of other flavors as being things that are of a non-biological nature. So he literally knows what paint thinner tastes like. You
know. Listen, I lived in the hills of North Carolina for a while. I know what paint thinner tastes like, and he ain't wrong. I would order that too.
But I mean, paint thinner is better than Malort.
I'm pretty sure Billie Eilish's Camel Toe is better than Malort.
Oh. But he eventually.
Sir, if you were to do that, you're a winner and a loser. You're a winner because you're not drinking Malort. You're a loser because you're tasting Billie Eilish's Camel Toe.
But
wait, does that count as a camel toe? That's more like a moose knuckle, isn't it?
Oof. But our plucky protagonists try to reset the computer, but it's broken because it's been given schizophrenia.
We have to educate it with comic books.
Yes, they don't call it schizophrenia. They just say its mind is disrupted and spread out all over everything. It's kind of like schizophrenia, maybe aphasia.
Yeah, they do some diet Die Hard by locking themselves on the bridge, which clearly the aliens did not take control of, so that they can keep the aliens out while they try to figure out how to get off the boat.
And they get the computer to behave itself by scanning a comic book into it. And then the computer describes what's happening in the comic book. That's one of the things where the show kind of lost me. But the bad guy gives the good guys a weapon to fight the discount Reavers, which was all a ruse for him to steal weapons from a top secret Federation weapons platform. In the process of escaping, the Vulcan gets killed. The psychic girl has to use her psychic powers to defeat the aliens so everybody can escape, which puts her into an explosive coma.
A Hollywood coma, if you will.
And the main character is, kind of sad, and they're taking the kids back to school because a pirate stole a whole bunch of top secret weapons. That's probably a problem.
Which never would have happened had you perhaps done this at a facility, say, in the solar system or adjacent nearby space.
Or, I don't know, you did in a holodeck.
Weirdest thing.
But the thing about this episode is it was actually structured like a Star Trek. They did tech to solve problems. But the characters were all just awful. The characters all made me want to have explosive decompression happen on all of the ships.
Can I have that just happen on me? After listening to you talk about it?
The show made you want to have explosive decompression in your house.
Look.
No, not in my house, because then my dog and wife would be subjected to it. Just me. Like, just a bubble of explosive decompression around me. Maybe my dick will be larger for like half a second before it explodes and becomes like relish. I'll have, my asshole will pop out for a second and give me a little bit of that red cabbage, a little jellyfish kiss on my underwear.
It pops like a balloon.
Yeah. So that's Starfleet Academy. We got like 4 more episodes to go, and they somehow made one that wasn't awful. It was just mediocre. And they took the character of the body positive hologram and they gave her something to do that was useful. And for the scene she was in, I didn't mind that until I was reminded by another reviewer. They were offering to throw somebody outside the ship. She could have just, volunteered to do that because she's a hologram. She doesn't have to breathe air. And I'm like, damn, I didn't think about that point. That is a very good point. So I want to talk about something that makes me sad. Terminator Zero got canceled. Do you guys remember when I talked to you about Terminator Zero?
I do vaguely.
How about you, Ayrton?
I'm like half listening to this conversation. My dog is trying to eat a blanket at the moment.
Well, is it the kind of blanket that gives some good fiber?
I mean, it's wool.
But this show, which was when it came out, it was the 4th best animated series original on Netflix, and that wasn't good enough to get you a second season. They might give you a mini series to help you wrap things up if you wanted to, for being that good of a show.
So a comparison I saw people make was Sarah Connor Chronicles.
Because they both did something interesting with the Terminator mythology that was not explicitly what James Cameron did.
Right. But there's a element here I want to address, because I think that we need to be honest with ourselves. There's a reason I didn't watch the Sarah Connor Chronicles, and it's not just because it was on Fox.
I mean, you probably thought because Summer Glau was in there that it was just going to be a tease kind of show.
Specifically, I thought it was going to be John Connor getting teenage boners for a Terminator, which felt wildly inappropriate relative to the material for me.
And that's because Summer Glau was a sex symbol at that point in her career.
I didn't even know it was Summer Glau at the time. I just was like, no.
She's still a sex symbol. What are you talking about?
But I will admit that is not a fair assessment of why I didn't check out a show, but I'm saying I was predisposed to think ill of it. Okay? And that's the thing about Terminator Zero. Terminator Zero could be excellent. Was apparently excellent. Right? Why did I not watch it? Because the Terminator franchise is burned. It is so burned. It is a theoretically good piece of media after how many bad pieces of media?
Almost all of them.
Yeah. I don't think it's fair to say, oh, well, it failed like this other thing failed. It's like, and that wasn't fair. It's like, no, it was perfectly fair in the sense that you already debased your material to the point that no one trusts it. You want us to trust the Terminator enough to watch it? Here's an idea. Don't make more trash. Make some more good shit.
Well, I mean, they made good shit and it didn't get enough eyeballs to watch it.
Because not enough people said this is good shit.
No, everybody who watched it had high critical and fan reviews.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. It's like no amount of fan grassroots could save this after what they had done to it.
I mean, that's fair as a take. That's totally fair. So we're going to be getting a new Terminator reboot now because this one failed. They're going to say, Arnold, I know you're 80 something, but we need you to be the Terminator again.
I mean, let's
be honest. Can we just do it with AI at this point?
Look, I mean, they can, but they don't want to pay out for that. Also,
it's free. We can go do that right now. We can make a Terminator movie.
I don't know about how free that is, but I'll take your word for it.
Cheaper than Arnold Schwarzenegger, then I can tell you that.
Well, actually, Arnold's prices have been going down because he's just an old man. And he needs to pay off his lawsuit over his illegitimate kids. So you can get Arnold Schwarzenegger at a reasonable rate. So Joe, what was that stuff we were talking about before?
Wait, does that mean we could get Arnold on the show?
We're not in that rate being reasonable for us, but we're closer than ever before.
Dear God, great Churchicus Prime in the sky, please let us become viable enough to have Arnold come on the show.
Dear Lord, guide my hand and make it strong, oh Lord.
So that he may tell us in an adorable and childlike fashion how great it was to be the Terminator.
So Rune, we were talking about the fate of fantasy literature, and we talked about that before the show. But I think we should talk more about that during the show.
I mean, sure.
So why don't you dredge that all up?
I mean, I can, but I think the real question is, does anyone really want to give fantasy fiction a fair shake?
No.
Just like we were just talking about with Terminator, I think there's a lot of implicit self-deception that goes on.
Well, I mean, a genre isn't inherently bad.
Right.
Now, there are writers in the genre that you don't trust. Like, I've only read one thing from Neil Gaiman that I actually enjoyed.
Right.
And everything else he's done, I felt he was insufferable.
I have his book, The Northman. I haven't read it yet, but I have it.
So, I'm looking at my responses here. I mean, where would you like me to begin? It's such a mess.
Well, why don't you start at the beginning?
All right, give me a here. So I'm gonna start from a slightly different angle, but we will get to fantasy fiction. February 12th. Larry Carrera, I think that's how it's enunciated. Author. Responded to a post from a guy named T.R.E. Jackson. T.R.E. Jackson said, quote, well, Larry said, it appears the biannual why don't conservatives make art debate is raging across X once again, where a bunch of people who've never created or sold their art lecture each other about philosophy and industries they don't understand. Meanwhile, my ass is over here working on novel 34, but as I've seen the previous 20 times this debate's raged, nobody wants to listen to us guys who actually do this for a living. Thierry Jackson said it also happens to coincide with the bi-monthly. Why don't conservatives Inc. give us millions of dollars to make art, whinging? And I said, although Larry said this is actually a great point, or Carrera said this is actually a great point. Posts like that from creators are just a logical outgrowth of our semi-annual "Why don't conservatives make art?" debate. Some grifter influencer with millions whines about some crap about how Disney or Netflix insert megacorp sucks now, and here how there's no right wing artist making stuff that doesn't suck. Then blah, blah. He goes on for many words.
Conservatives do make art, but then your Fed handler wife has you killed by the Mossad. So.
Right. He goes on for many words.
My wife currently has her hands up and is shaking her head no.
But I said,
I'm not a conservative. I'm fine.
But I said it's actually worse than one of your points. Observation has shown that right-wing grifters are actually as bad as their left-leaning counterparts in that they also act dishonestly in the market. They not only pretend that other right-wing minded creators don't exist, but then turn around and appeal that buying their right-wing creative content is a performative act to own the lefties. They won't signal boost without some kind of inducement. Other people, they'll damn well signal boost themselves. Still worse. What?
Oh, I was going to say that's interesting because since like 2012, when our parents started getting on Facebook and shit, and boomers started learning what the internet was, and all went to hell.
Right.
On both sides, they're both cringe. They're playing off the two different sides of the boomers. The America, fuck yeah, and the anti-war, fuck LBJ, hippies and shit. They're both cringe. They both suck. Can we just stop? Like, I saw an article recently where I think it was the Japanese, maybe the Chinese, have found a way to slow the aging process. And my first thought was, oh, good God, don't let the boomers find out about this, because that'll just make everything worse.
Right. Well, part and parcel with that, I go on to say, still worse, if they set up an infrastructure to compete, such as a right-leaning publisher, they often don't utilize open submissions or hire new talent. They'd rather hire an established talent to give them bona fides and then continue to shill their own work. So ultimately, almost no one with the juice to get published or create art is actually interested in the well-being of their medium. They're all into getting theirs and getting out, which perpetuates the system of exploitations and abuse. Right? To which someone responded to me, basically saying that they had to do that. They had to get viable talent because taking on new talent is a gamble. It's a gamble. It's a risk. We can't afford it. Right? As though the problem is we're always talking about how everything tastes the same, everything sounds the same, nothing new gets on the market. Why is that? It's like, well, because everyone's so risk averse that no one does it. This goes hand in hand with a conversation, Fenrir the Ice Wolf, who you guys may know, commenting on EVS and Comicsgate becoming a joke, and then John A. Douglas, author and Christ bro that won't shut up about his God, said, and here's the thing, it's a gag concept, which works as a one-off, but he spent so much time trying to hate Eric July to death that it's become his known brand. Now his only joke, clearly we're talking about EVS,
to be fair, Eric July's comics suck.
Right. His only joke comic is 4 years overdue. It's still not done, and no one even thinks that this joke's funny anymore. To which I said, EVS and July are actually the problem. Once CG became about clout chasing and factionalized among people trying to ride the coattails of people more successful than themselves, it stopped being about the quality of books. The popular revolt in RPGs over the OGL had a similar trajectory. To which John Douglas said to me, Eric was never the problem. He did things the way he wanted. It's not his fault that the posers got so ass mad that he passed them up. So I said very neutrally,
sorry, he claims to be an anarchist, but he called the cops on somebody for making fun of him.
So I said very neutrally, Eric's not without his negative traits. He's also a provocateur and an impresario. His critics may be shit, and often are, CEVS, but that doesn't mean they're wrong about everything either. Don Chin and Alterna Comics are actual beating hearts of indie.
Alterna, yes, I will agree with you there.
What's wrong with Don Chin? We love Don.
Well, Don hasn't done a comic in...
Okay.
What, like 2 years?
I think we agree, though, that we want more Don Chins making more content in our life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, Don's great. We bought some records off of him, like a month ago?
Yeah, something like that. So, with that in mind, because like I said, we are going somewhere. We are catching up. Recently, someone named Fiona Wolf, who was a tabletop gaming and book reader type, lost her collective shit about fantasy fiction. Okay.
Did you read that Minotaur book?
No. She instead posited that she's struggling to figure out why she hates Western fantasy fiction so much. Right? And it started with bitching about Tolkien alikes. Reasonably so. Right? And then it transitioned to bitching about how there's no other options. And people pointed out sword and sorcery. And she made the argument that sword and sorcery never gets any attention unless it talks shit about Tolkien.
Which, can we have a quick aside? As far as Tolkien and likes go, a series, and I will fully admit, not the best written thing in the world. I like it mostly from nostalgia, but the Aragon series is getting a Disney Plus adaptation.
You know what?
Coming up soon.
That is an excellent mention, and I will read to you why, because you're gonna be pleased with yourself, Ayrton. So
you accidentally did something super smart.
You did.
God damn it!
Amazing.
All right, I'm gonna go do a front flip off our balcony from our third-story apartment.
So, Fiona Wolf said that she was trying to figure out why they hate Western fantasy as much as they do. I said, in my opinion, it's derivative and self-important. As outlined in this video, and I give a video link to, I'm going to get the name this time, the second story, which you can see on YouTube. It's a cute little redhead with a skull on her desk and a cup of coffee and a keyboard, talks about the industry and how we treat fiction. She basically outlines how the Del Rey publisher has shaped modern fantasy so that we will never get another Lord of the Rings because market forces prevent us from the creative industry that actually leads to that kind of thing. Right? I assert that the publishing industry itself has moved to scrub out dissenting voices and pasteurize fantasy into one reliable flavor of Tolkien-inspired slop, while never being quite as good. While they may differ in specifics, when you actually think about it, Lord of the Rings, the Shannara Stones, Dragonlance, Sword of Truth, Game of Thrones, and even Sanderson's fantasy work are all basically the same, to say nothing of the graveyards of imitators. The thing is, any fantasy fiction that makes it is so painfully proud of itself and its own accomplishment, and often spawns a legion of rabid fans who believe it can do no wrong. For proof, consider the flash in the pan that was Aragon. The team got the golden ticket, and they used him up, burned him out, and abandoned him so fast that his claim to fame is not an established fantasy series, but a god-awful, terrible fantasy movie.
Which, to be fair, again, I will fully admit, there's a lot of weird plot holes and stuff, but I do love the books. They're so much fun.
The books might be fine, but what I'm putting out is,
what
I'm saying is, can you actually say in a straight way that there's anything in those books that was not covered by Dragon Riders of Pern?
I never read that, so I couldn't give you an accurate answer to that.
In Dragon Riders of Pern, which is a skiffy fantasy, humans travel to another planet in our solar system, or not our solar system, our wider Milky Way, okay, to escape a failing Earth and a failing ecology because it was the 70s. On this new planet, they develop a medieval society that does not require the destructive technologies of modernity, but in order to protect themselves from semi-regular asteroid showers from the nearby Urut cloud, they develop a animal husbandry and psychic connections with dragons that they fly, that they specially breed for the ability to breathe fire.
Okay.
It's a fantasy book on another planet about guys who ride dragons. Woo! It's by Anne McCaffrey. It's very fluffy, sort of indistinct. It's a fantasy series. It has its fans. It never really commits to a antagonist or a threat of consequence.
I'll give Christopher Paolini that he at least has the antagonist is pretty good. The Deus Ex Machina is a little cheesy and kind of dumb, but it's yeah. I mean, I see where you're coming from.
Well, I think because I'm not calling you out. I think actually the better example, the one that will get me actually shivved by fans, Dragonlance is shit. So.
Also, again, the reason I enjoy the Aragon series is he's like 2 years older than me, so like I grew up reading his books, and grew up at the same time he did. So there's nostalgia there. The same reason like people think certain movies from the 80s are good when they're kind of dog shit.
Well, in a serious conversation point, are you familiar with why Dragonlance exists?
No.
Okay, so D&D started as a number of different settings, none of which TSR owned. Mystara, Greyhawk, Blackmoor. These were private settings made by the company's founders that they just published, because why the fuck not? When they started to get bought out, or when the business started to become more of a business and not a personal hobby for Gary Gygax, right? They were like, we need to start doing our own setting with our own proprietary material, because we can both create and sell settings, right? So first they did Forgotten Realms, and Forgotten Realms was basically just D&D as a grab bag, right? But this is the early 80s. The Lord of the Rings animated feature had dropped, 5 years previous or so? Lord of the Rings was going through another cycle of popularity, because people forget that Lord of the Rings kept falling in and out of popularity for a while, right?
Unless you listen to Led Zeppelin, then it was always popular.
Right. But they went to some friends and some authors, and they said, can you make us a Lord of the Rings? And they're like, what do you mean, make you a Lord of the Rings? Like, we want to make a D&D novel series that we can turn into adventures in our own proprietary setting, that it can be long-lasting, a sweeping, heroic epic, like Lord of the Rings, but not. And you could play a character that's there on the ground floor. And they were like, cool. So they made this thing called Dragonlance. Dragonlance has a couple of odds and ends that are neat. Okay, they don't use gold; they use iron as the money of commerce, right? Because steel is actually hard to come by. They have powerful wizards, and they got dragons.
Steel isn't a naturally occurring element. You have to make steel out of iron and carbon.
No, that's what I'm saying. The iron part of the carbon and iron combination to make steel is hard to come by.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes more sense.
But with that in mind, they got dragons, they got magic, and somebody came up with the most
cool.
They came up with one of the most awesome ideas ever. So before Dragonborn, before the fucking furries ruined everything, there were Draconians, right? Which was the evil empire of the evil queen Takesis, who is not Sauron, we swear. Enacted a ritual. She took good dragon eggs from good dragons, right? And poisoned them as eggs so that they would hatch as like 8-foot tall humanoid monstrosities called Draconians, right? So it's basically she was doing a cycle of corrupting dragon eggs to make stormtroopers for her evil empire, and her right-hand man is basically Darth Vader, and it is very much what if Lord of the Rings was a Star Wars in a fantasy setting. It's
fair.
It's awful. It has its fans. It has its beloved fans. They did give us a really cool character called Raistlin. Kiefer Sutherland is a fan. If you ever want to do yourself some psychological damage, look up, I think it's Dragons of Autumn, is an animated feature where Kiefer Sutherland is so much of a fan, he wouldn't do one voice. He does 2 different voices for 2 different characters in the same animated feature. But Dragonlance is basically Lord of the Rings, and it doesn't try not to be. It's a Lord of the Rings that they can keep writing. And this is the problem of fantasy fiction. Everybody wants to be the Tolkien killer, to knock Tolkien off that perch and be the next Tolkien.
And it's like, never going to happen.
It's never going to happen, not only because it's not easy, but also because it's not fucking worth it.
Right. And I think that's kind of why, another reason why I like the Aragon series, not just the main books, there's like 2 spin-off books and there's a 3rd one coming out soon, which I'll probably get, is he does, like, at first it's very like, if Lord of the Rings met Star Wars, that's kind of how it starts out, but he does eventually like mature and develop it. There's still some goofy stuff later in the books, but it is kind of his own thing. Like he did eventually get to the point where he's like, I'm just going to do this because I think it's cool. I'm gonna make dragons eat giant snails on an island that's irradiated from an atomic bomb that went off for some reason because I think it's cool.
I mean, here's the thing, because I have not read Aragorn, but good fantasy fiction should always come from the position of, I want to do this thing because it's cool, not because market forces dictate that this is what will sell.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. I think that's, again, why I give him a bit of a pass, because he was like, what, 16 when he wrote the first book?
Yeah.
Which, like, come on. What would you write when you were 16? It would also be something derivative of the fantasy and sci-fi you were into at the time.
Well, this is why I don't criticize the man. I criticize the fandom. And I don't mean you either. What I mean is the people are just like, have you read Aragorn? It's the best thing ever. It's like, is it? Yeah, this 15-year-old wrote this thing about dragons. It's like, so let me get this straight. He wrote some fan fiction that somebody thought was good enough to get paid.
Well, actually, not even that. His parents set up a publishing company. It's actually owned by his family. The company that publishes all of his books, they actually set it up for him when he was a kid. Nobody actually came along and said, like, hey, this is good, we should publish it. His parents were just like, yeah, let's support, we'll support our kid and we'll set up a publishing company, which is also kind of neat, but again, like I said, no, it's not the best. Is it my favorite fantasy series? Yes. Is it the best fantasy series? No.
It's a fantasy series Ayrton has read, and that actually
I read it like once. I read through the entire story like once a year.
Well, that's what I was gonna jokingly say. Is like that is itself an encouragement.
Yeah, no, it's a fun read. Like I said, as long as you keep in mind. The first book he was like 15, the second book he was like 17, and you can see the progression of as he's growing up. He's like, oh, that was dumb, I should have done something else, I need to fix this, and he comes up with some like bullshit like 2 books later to like fix an issue that he wrote in the first one that's just stupid and makes no sense. It's actually kind of endearing in that sense.
I still think you need to read that
But, and then again, there's a couple of spin-off things that he wrote, but.
All right. We had a good show.
That moment when you realize that Larry, in fact, just directed you to talk about something to eat up time.
I mean, it was good. We needed to kill time. So hopefully we got that new time travel show coming up.
3.
Another. I'm so sick of time travel.
There's no time travel. It's a fantasy series.
So sick of time travel. Can we not? And remember, go if anybody watching, if you like that video, go to Instagram and go to ADVWITHAVA. I'm gonna be filming me and this dog riding around Arizona and doing shit.
All right. Well, good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
No. Yeah, you. It's your job to say good night, everybody.